Don't give guys no attention, but you got this thing that I can't deny. And when I'm around you, I'm stressing. Can't hold back my obsessing. You got me losing my mind. Only you make me feel like I'm ill, like an itch and it's driving me wild. Only you send a sting through my fingertips like I'm lit on fire. Only you give me all these feelings, chills down the back of my spine. Oh, and it's more than physical. You make me feel alive. Only you. One touch and it's taking me high. Oh, say oh, one touch and it's taking me high. Nobody but you.
Shaking up your underground. Underground. To the roof and the underground.
In your eyes, there's eternal light on my mind when you're out of sight. Hypnotized, bring me back to life. Caught up in your eternal light. So give me your all or nothing. Fight or flight, I'm terrified. Oh, and though I try, it's in my eyes. But it's so hard to live this life. So purify, I'm redefined. I feel like the walls are falling down, surrounding me. I feel like a healer that has found the remedy. Your gravity is holding me. Don't make me go back to before you. Before you. Before you. It's holding me. Your gravity is holding me. Your gravity is holding me. Your gravity is holding me. I feel like the walls are falling down, surrounding me. I feel like a healer that has found the remedy. Your gravity is holding me. Don't make me go back to before you. Before you.
Hello? Hello? I'm very tired these days. How is everyone doing?
I need you until the end.
How do you progress in Vera? You have a shadow or 245. I mean, what are you like trying to, you know, achieve? like the last person you should ask. Oh, you're trying to... Yeah, even I'm not at Black Mage, you know? I mean, basic progression is, you know, just basic stuff like, you know, are all your symbols maxed? You know, I do my dailies every day just to max out my symbols as fast as I can. Oh, I don't even Meso farm. But in, yeah, in Reg server, yeah, it's all money. So I'm literally free to play, and I don't do Meso or anything like that. I literally just do actual, legitimate, like, slow progression. I don't know what to do. It's just... No, you beef. It's, you know, do your Legion and Link. Do your Legion and Link skills, you know. 5.5, that's almost as much as me. It's not even that bad. You know. I mean, you sound like you sound like you've got it, you know. You know, work on your gear. You know, so make sure you do your daily bosses and weekly bosses for the reward points so that you can buy the cubes. You've been stuck forever? Yeah. I mean, that's how free to play Reg server progression is. It's just slow as shit. And we just, you know, it depends on how seriously you take the game. I'm like a legitimate, like, filthy casual. Like, I don't really care about this game. I just need something for, like, consistency. I mean, I literally just come on here, I do my dailies, and then that's it. And then I just, you know, go live my life until the next day. And then I do dailies again. I should probably partake in the events these days, because now they're pushing for 6 jobs, so they're giving stuff like, you know, fucking... You could have a fucking arcane box. You could have 1,200 symbols, you know? They're really just trying to push now. Since now the game will, in essence, start at 260 instead of 200.
they say whoa.
And then they get down on the floor.
They hear the bass and they say whoa.
And then they get down on the floor.
They hear the bass and they say.
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 They hear the bass and they say whoa. They hear the bass and they say whoa.
And then they get down on the floor.
They hear the bass and they say whoa.
And then they get down on the floor.
They hear the bass and they say whoa.
And then they get down on the floor.
They hear the bass and they say whoa.
Actually, why? Rip. Ah, shit. Wait, so you just ended your stream? What the fuck? You're just like, fuck this shit? Oh my god, you have war. Dear god. Phone raid! Bro, you always wake up at midnight, stream, and then go to work? Oh my god. Dear god, dailies is just true suffering. Get me out. No more. What were you doing before your PC crashed? You were playing that one game, right? I forget what it's called. Like jumped in real quick only to lurk. Oh my god. So many. True pain and suffering. Damn, that's so sad. Why do my dailies take like 2 hours? Please. Next time, let me go. I wanna be free. I wanna play video games that I wanna play. Please. Just never allowed to be happy. Yeah, no, I'm the same way. There are those days where I'll come home and I'm like, damn, the daily resets in 4 hours. Fuck. It's so much nicer just to get it out of the way right at reset. Yeah. This is my life. There's no such thing as happiness. I love dailies. It's my favorite stuff. It's what I wake up for. It's my favorite part of the day. Oh my god. Mobile games are even worse. Olé. Let me go pee real quick.
We're never basic. You need to face this. Like Muhammad Ali will be the greatest. Turn up the bass, DJ, it's the bass lift.
Bro, just take the night off.
Oh shit, okay.
Your game's looking weak. You could use a little help leveling up.
Go again. Ooh, your game stinks. You're gonna need these.
Stay in your game with DoorDash.
I know Danjo's got a lot of thoughts on it, but as we take a look at some of these different POIs and where people are fighting and as they're rotating in, again, all eyes on Team 19, 7th place overall, looking for top 4. Be incredible to see Booyah come back.
Do they name themselves Team 19? That's pretty gangster. Why is everyone running this camo?
The London tournament, just how close it can be at the top. It's come down to less than a point every single time. Even in stage 2 in a finals, it was 0.2 points. EU LCQ was 0.6 points. Every single kill matters. Every place matters. Continuing to find some here from IQ.
Not a bad positioning here for Clown Squad. They were 3rd in that map that Chrissy won. We saw Clown, I believe himself, kind of just flying in late game, getting picked off on the roof behind them before they set their sights onto Team Colony. But they have just kind of inched their way into the top 4.
Yeah, I feel like
now, granted, with
I don't know how well
so
Warzone 1 would work for
the margin here, but Nate Dogg
you know,
has just
this
been
kind of
consistently at the top of the leaderboard. Now, granted, that differential is only 3.2 now, and at a 1.5x multiplier, which at some point when we get to that 1.6x in the top 10, it's only just a handful, maybe 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Kind of tough.
I watched the
This is kind of that cluster we were talking about. It's the edge of that cluster just on the outside of city or rotating through city into the POI at hand.
ALCS LCQ this past weekend.
This is
That was
of
amazing.
Rocket and Morpheus from yesterday, right? You're not necessarily riding home just a massive amount of
Yeah,
kills.
yeah.
Yet to find his first, but they've been playing consistently. Now, in a bit of trouble, they actually swapped in Raul onto this squad, who originally played with Mutex. Of course, Mutex now playing
These
with
aren't like
Huskers,
actual
so a fun
like
little addition to the teams.
sponsor teams, right? These are just actual like
Today. They got to keep up the pressure, though. They are not in the clear. Again, the cutoff yesterday was 86 points. The cutoff during in a finals
they're
was in
not
the 90s.
like
so
streamer,
you need to at least
YouTuber,
get
like
to a
self-made
bout
like
to really
trios.
secure, quote unquote, your spot
That's
for the
fun.
finals. No one in the clear. Everyone fighting for position.
Hey, look who made it back to land.
I see.
Hook. Now they're just in front
team
of
won.
Nate Dogg. Don't really
Like
want
the
to
2
leave this
underdog
building
teams are
just
going to win,
yet,
which is
especially when you
huge.
don't have the resources. You okay? There we go. Team sharing. Tappa though doesn't seem to have any plays.
Amazing
They do have
weekend
2
for
self-reses, but squad number 13 is going to make a play for
Apex this
Illy and
past
Hook.
weekend.
And honestly, I don't want to be the one to chow them on a 1v1.
I don't either. Notably, by the way, Nate Dogg, their entire team doesn't have a single gas mask on hand, so just keep an eye out for that team late game. Might have to kill somebody with one and take it to have a chance there in the late game. Here goes Illy. Been here 1,000 times. Won championships in these positions 1,000 times, but this is Warzone. It's a little bit different. Finds one. Takes some shots. Smartly trades off back. Trying to bait these players in, and they know it. Hook playing long. Looks like maybe a flank trying to wrap around. Illy knows it. Here's the footsteps prepared, waiting, and yeah, you're not winning a gunfight 1v1 against Illy, but especially with the trades coming from behind, Illy trying to run out. Doesn't quite get to cover in time. It's now up to Hook.
Hook has no plates. Just a dream. Hits the rotation. See ya out of there, but you might run right into Nate Dogg and co.
Shit, I
Look at
forgot
some-
to do this. Hold on. Let me finish this real quick. Forgot I'm on a timer in there.
before Emrius peaked, kind of saving his life without even knowing it. Does have the PA to look to follow up on it should they need it, but they still have to rotate. And Emrius is going a little bit further north to kind of cut over, but let's jump on back. Huskers, Mutex, Jesus Jr. in second place on the leaderboard, looking solid.
Look, my predictions are looking okay, and it's because of that Huskers team. I've seen them in scrims. They are firing on all cylinders. They're moving at the same beat of the drum. Chemistry was the big question for that squad, and they're doing well. Several other teams trying to harry them, but
How many squads?
Here, squad 14. Clown
It's a 48
Launch, they've been having a pretty decent tournament thus far, but they need to really pick up the pace, make it into top 4. Check out a couple of squads.
It has to be. It has to be. Yeah, 48.
They've been playing nice and slow, and I guess maybe that's their strategy. Is just make
Otherwise,
sure
it'd
the top
be
5 every single time.
whatever 48 divided by 3 is.
Distance from Team
16.
Juju,
But then I
but
see like
plenty
team
of cover to work with.
more than 19
Potentially kind of
teams.
sandwiched between,
Okay,
between a couple squads, but I don't
20
mind that
teams.
spot, given the kind of high ground position and the fact that they're still in zone.
Team Green Nose fully eliminated. Squad 9, Team Classic Pain fully eliminated. That's going to be at the hands of Juju's squad. And you were asking, you know, would it be enough for Team Cloud?
Yeah.
They're actually in 3rd Gauge, so they're doing pretty well here. Chrissy is now officially fallen out of the top 4, and Team IQ is in by just 0.2, which
Signal
we've
50.
seen that before in the positioning.
I mean,
here
one
from
shot
Squad
doesn't exist in here,
Huskers
so
and Co.
I mean, at that point, Signal would be the best
I
because
think
it's the
good,
fastest.
But you know what we saw the map number 3 when Mutex had that ultimate high ground and ultimately had to pass
right.
up on the location because that rotation was not going to happen. Could potentially happen here if it starts to ultimately pull away from this. OP Mark just in the distance, but Intex Brawlic believe they have to step it up here.
It's a great shout on Team Clown. They went from 6th to 3rd, kind of sneaking under my radar a little bit. 6 going in to map 3, then had a pretty solid map push all the way up to 3rd. They are tied for 3rd with Team Chrissy right now going into this map. So a fun team to continue to watch out for. A little bit of a surprise, not on a lot of people's radar. Always good to see. Had that EU yesterday. Speaking of under the radar, Believe gets taken out from nowhere, it seems, as Locksteel and Co. Juju set up a small pinch here. 2 on one side, 1 on the other. Not a bad play, especially when you got height.
We've got Colony in the distance, just trying to keep the dream alive and maybe get into a higher placement for that squad. Almost to that 1.4x that'll happen when you get to the 20th place. But Intex Brawlic moving as a unit, kind of together. They still need to get past both of the squads, but if they can manage to hit a nice third party off this and clean up, would be the ideal way to go about it.
Yeah, this is crucial. This is Locksteel team in 9th versus the team in 10th with Team Colony. And then we're going to swing to the other side of this circle. Several teams got here early. That's Reader, Lovey. But this fight is a crucial linchpin moment. The team in 10th and the team in 9th fighting for position, jockeying around each other. While Brawlic and Intex and Believe in 5th going into this map. All of these high-value squads all trying to make London and all fighting each other. And to be honest, I'm not sure they can get out of it with at least one of these teams not falling.
You think that if they're gonna have
Dolphin dive and hitting
these
the
serious
rotation,
tournaments, that
18
they'd actually,
seconds before
you know, make sure that their
circle will
game
be
runs
finished
well.
Closing. You've already lost out on the early rotate. Those squads didn't actually take each other out like you would have hoped out. So now, and you can even see like Huskers going to be that next team that has even set up shop there, looking to clean up the rotation. Believes can turn their sights on to Watch Waldo, Trey, and Colony. Might as well pick up as many eliminations as you can. Good knock. That fence ain't gonna cover you though, and you're gonna lose your life with just a knock. Unfortunate.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. There was 3 teams here. 1 team abdicated. The other 2 were left to fight each other. I don't think both of these teams will survive unless you see some massive wrap that for some reason isn't glanced at. You can see Watch Waldo's squad. Again, Watch Waldo was in 10th going into this map. Locksteel squad was in 9th, and this squad on your screen's in 5th. So, again, all high-value squads. And the Chrissy squad still alive as well. Pretty free and clear here on edge of zone. A little bit further south from the squad in question now on your screen. But they were tied for 4th. So, a lot of big-ticket teams still up inside the top 23 as the circle continues to close. We're now moving into what will be the 6th circle. And I don't mind a potential wrap here in from Chrissy. If they can get a pick as some of these teams in are on the edge holding them, like they've got a pretty clear pathway where otherwise it looked to be pretty detrimental, especially if Colony and Watch Waldo are in trouble here with Brawlic squad.
Brawling
see a
back
Cronin.
up to a squad of 3. Their ability to get the buybacks are pretty impressive.
Cronin signal,
Intex, though,
yeah.
needs to join up with the squad. Oh, good. He's got Brawlic here. Gonna get rezzed. Okay, it's believed that they bought back and is in the air now. Intex with a signal 50. This is going to be really detrimental to Colony's team's rotation in, but they have to be very aware as they keep rotating throughout that things are going to get mixy. Chrissy now into the mix of things. Huskers, Mutex, and Jesus, they're going to be looking to kind of gatekeep this, and playing around those kind of rock pillars are not the easiest thing to do.
Yeah, not the easiest. Gonna take some skill, but a decent bit of cover to play with. The only reason Chrissy's team made it into the circle, by the way, was because Brawlic's team was harrying Watch Waldo. Otherwise, Watch Waldo's squad easily takes out Chrissy's team on a massive wide open wrap. They were able to just kind of sneak through the open. Probably didn't even have to use smokes, albeit they likely did just to be safe. So both those teams have made it to circle, or about to be. Team 18 is Watch Waldo's squad. Chrissy's squad here hanging out inside the rocks. And yeah, I mean, Mutex has got a nice hold here inside of cover. Probably my favorite position of the rest, but it's a small building. All it takes is one more team to pinch and swarm, and you're going to see Mutex's team go down. They're going to try to just write it out to top 10 here.
Hey, Chrissy just picked up another down with the signal 50, and we know she's good with it. She's just starting off today, but we're all about the placement multiplier. Dander talked about it in the opening show.
Yeah,
We're
these are
gunning for that
sweaty.
top 10. That 1.6
Apex was the same
is going
way.
to make the biggest
It was like
differential when it comes to climbing
Third
up the
circle,
leaderboard.
and there's
If I'm
still
Team
like
Chrissy, who already
17 out of
won
20
map
squads
number
left.
2,
That was insane.
but has actually fallen out of the top 4. And if you look at that, none of the teams in
Yes,
the top 4
Mally
right
is
now have
alive.
actually won a map. They're just banking off
Thank
the
God.
1.6x, the
We've
1.8x,
missed
and just
you.
flying at people. And Nate Dogg, he's in your first place right now with 60 points, and he's a floater.
Gotta float, gotta play for positioning. Here's the push, though. Here comes Team Chrissy. Are they gonna
We'll
try to take
catch
the
up
building?
once
I think
you're,
so. A 3v3 for
a little more
crucial
settled.
positioning and a crucial multiplier.
Oh, nice,
Who makes
nice.
the first mistake? Nades to zone off.
Just
and Team
spamming
Chrissy
camping.
trying to
Everyone is.
set up for
There's
the
what,
potential
17
push.
squads
I
left?
know
And what is
the
it,
comms
7th
right now from
circle?
Huskers and Mutex and Jesus are immaculate.
6th circle, that's insane.
Usually you expect Mutex to be
Your whole
screaming,
ass
but
family's in
they've
town? You
really
have an ass
honed in on their
family
comms
too?
as one of
Yeah.
their major improvement points throughout all the scrims they've done the last week or so. And it's been paying off in scrims. And it's paying off today.
It's because they're not as
Second
hype
place
as
going into this map and
LCS.
staying patient on the edge. They are
You win
gonna be
20K
one
just
of
for
the ones to rotate, but they are
qualifies?
farming this
So top
multiplier
4, right?
3 spots away. Here comes the zone. Here comes the push.
No wonder it's so
Who
sweaty.
makes the mistake?
Jesus puts the sights on him, but you do have squad number 1. Yeet looking down the barrel at them. He gets taken out by a precision from Chrissy. They use that to kind of zone off their rotation, completely decimating Mutex and Jesus. Huskers last alive, wants to call in a streak of their own, gets punished for it. Still outside the ring, no more gas mask to boot. This is going to be detrimental.
But made top 10, might make
gonna
top 10.
die.
Look, all of a sudden we're down to 6 teams. This is what happens when you get a circle like this. Huskers has to push through the mortar strike because he's out of his gas.
He's gonna die to the gas! Oh my god! Oh my gosh!
Huskers goes big. No, did not net that kill, but did net a 1.8. Huskers goes massive for the team. You're going to see them likely maintain that second place position, if not higher. Huge mainstay to get the multiplier and get a sizable amount of kills along the way. Massive game for Huskers squad,
Ooh.
but who's going to win map 4? There are 3 players left for team 2, and then 2 for squad 14. Team 2, of course, Tiff. One of the teams that we talked about earlier, Reader, Lovey, Authorized, had a great stage 2, just barely missing the qualification.
Was it
They've got
14
a big
left?
game on their hands. This could be enough
Yeah.
to put them into the equation.
Plenty of ammo. This was the squad that took the gnarliest rotation. Is Authorized, finds at least 2 or 3, completely decimates squad 14. Now with only
Massive.
3 squads left in the
Different-
lobby, Reader
different
is just
scope
trying
here.
to reposition themselves. They have the zone pool. They've taken down another.
A long-range
Just like that,
Lockman.
They end Little Mario for a map 4 win.
That's a massive victory for that squad. Again, they got 17th overall in the stage 2 finals, just barely missing out on a trip to London. But they're here, they're back, and they're making big waves in the final moments of this tournament. Map 4 victors, Authorized Lovey. Big win. We'll see where they end up on the leaderboard. Want to take a look back on that winning moment.
I can't hit me. He's taking the fucking ruin thing again. I'm down here with us. Watch your left, Livy.
Gas is moving.
I see him. He's right there.
What tournaments does Spider Tiff normally commentate for? I feel like she's one of the top commentators right now.
I broke one in the left. I broke one left. Cracked him on the right.
Italian guy.
He's rolling right.
I don't even remember him.
Dead. Here we go. There's a solo on my left. There's a solo on my left. Okay. I'm reloading. I'm playing this hoodie. Hey, hold on. Cracked him left. Wide left. Yeah, let's fucking go, man. Come on. 48 points, baby. Baby, good shit. That's what I'm talking about, babe. Let's go, boys.
Let's go, babe. Yeah, good shit, babe.
Good shit, babe. Good shit, dude.
Yeah, good shit, babe.
Whoa, Tiff. 48? Like, I thought it was pretty solid. I didn't think it was 48 solid. That's the double signal 50 cheese. Talk about last cheese qualifier. That was a nutty finish. Well within their right. Of course, they have the ability to do that, but not something I was expecting to see in map 4.
How many points do they need to qualify?
In the final moments, they're in position, Tiff, to potentially make their way into top 4 just with that map.
That's the issue, is they were just inside the top 10 coming into map number 4 and putting almost a 50-point game down. That's going to shake up the leaderboard because everything was so incredibly close. Just a couple points separating between first through fourth. Team Chrissy likely fell out of that. But Huskers, can we talk about that? I was like, this is about to be detrimental. The PA from Chrissy coming in at the end game, completely annihilating Jesus and Mutex. But Huskers able to withstand just a little bit longer to break in that 1.8x. Nice.
Huge. I mean, you talk about the teams that were alive. There's a lot to break down. I know our analysts are going to do all of that, but 3 of our top 10 teams were the final 3 teams alive, and Huskers was right there as well. This is a masterful moment from the top teams. We'll only get to see one more map. Let's see what the analysts have to say after a quick break.
How many games are there? Is it literally just they play a certain amount of games and then it just goes like that? And like that's it? And that's just top 5? Top 4? Five. And top 4 teams go to LAN? Oh, they go to London, okay. It's top 4? Top 4 teams? They got 48 points? It's only by elim, not placement, no placement? Five map, that's it. Oh, the placement goes for a multiplier. That's interesting. Okay. Apex does it where I think placement you get a certain tier of points, and then each kill is also a point. So then basically you play as many until a team gets 50 points. Then once you're in that place where you have, did this guy just down himself? Once you have 50 points, you have to win a BR.
Get free games and
then
in-game
you
content,
qualify.
such as the Rat Pack with Prime Gaming. Visit gaming.amazon.com.
And it's interesting because the point system still goes throughout all the way to the end. Sounds frustrating, yeah.
Using Call of Duty points.
So like you could have like 5 teams that already have 50 points, and it's just whichever one of those teams win. So it's not like if a team hits the 50 mark, it's not over yet. And it's interesting because the top 2 went to LAN, and what was it?
Prime Gaming, they got everything you need, and well,
it was Timmy. It was the Dojo, which is Timmy's team, and DNO, and then DNO lost to them in the final circle, but they placed high enough that because Timmy's team was already qualified and they won, that it cut the points right there. So DNO made it to second place in that game. So DNO losing basically secured their tickets to LAN. It was pretty nutty. Because if they won, then they weren't qualified yet, because they just got above 50 that game, and they would have had to play one more, and then who knows what would have happened.
But hey, they finally step it up. Big thing for me though, Dream, right, is we're starting to see these end games which are quite chaotic to be expected, but the open ones, the Signal 50, right? The teams that get set up early on, like Chrissy, or like we just seen a little bit earlier with Authorized, they set up early with open end zone. The Signal 50 shreds their opponents.
Yeah, it's just so beneficial. And I mean, it was just called out that even from the first drop into the third, like how much of a shift there was in terms of classes, in terms of loadouts.
Are the builds for those three out?
Of course, obviously the Signal is banger, but it's like it's able to open up these gunfights, able to initiate
they're like
quickly to take down these teams.
Most common loadout.
That's right, initiate, taking down teams, or if anything, opening up opportunities like we learned yesterday during a player interview. Dandra, I go to you because Huskers, man, was the biggest play for me. He made such a heroic effort as a solo. It was amazing. 11 teams were left, and then there were 5 in a blink of an eye. Huskers diving through the gas to get up 2 eliminations, and then finally getting a top 5 finish.
Yeah, I mean, that's just kind of a veteran play that we expect out of somebody like Huskers at that point, right? He's kind of playing the gas. He's like, I need to get into zone, but you're kind of just like, you're hesitant. And the second he sees it drop like that, he's like, okay, I have to get in here to just play points and play my life, because that's obviously a squad who they're able to grab eliminations early on. And by just that one little play, like, listen, worst case scenario, I die to gas or I die to this mortar. Best case scenario, I make it into zone and I just added, maybe 5 or 6 extra points to our top. We've seen how close the points can be at the end of these rounds. And so, being able to make a play like that could be the difference between going to London and sitting at home.
Very well said. Going to London, sitting at home, making heroic efforts like that. Huskers is a guy
sitting
that
at home.
we absolutely expect to be within that top 4 today, but it's so close at the top. I can't even lie. And, well, let's go ahead and talk about how close it is at the top, because I want to hone in on this graphic, Dream. We bring up the standings. This is the last chance we get an opportunity to look at it right before we know who our top 4 teams are. So let's talk about top 4 and how close the standings are in general.
Wow, what a jump though from Team Reader, like 80.4. And I mean, just trickling down the list into that top 4 spot, like 68 points for Team Prospect, and then there's only 1 point that separates 4th from 5th. So I mean, for those bottom teams, essentially 5th through 10th, like they have to have a banger game. And I mean, of course, we've seen teams.
Wait a minute. Do the multipliers?
Yeah, we definitely we just saw it. A 48-point game coming out from Authorized and Co., which puts them up.
It's multiplier according to the game, right? Like they don't just add the multipliers and then just take it at the end.
That's huge for them, and very well could make them qual. I think you linked the tweet. It was rated saying, one big game can change everything in this last map, because scores are so low today. We expected them, or at least I expected them, I can't rope you all into it, to be a lot higher.
I'm right there with you. I mean, I think I expected overall, but the one thing is that it's obvious that the talent in this LCQ is just at another level, right? And so I think what we're seeing is just more, these large scores are just spread out across so many teams, right? So it kind of comes down to those teams who aren't relying on the one banger game, but are able to kind of get into that top 10, top 5 scenario multiple times. This is what we're seeing with Team Huskers. This is what we're seeing with Nate Dogg. It's not about the one game for them. It's about all the games overall. But when we get ready to move into this map number 5, ready to hit it right on the head, we just saw a Reader just drop this absolutely insane game. They're now top of the leaderboard. What team is going to take map number 5, and can they have the eliminations to back it up to make a shakeup like this happen? Nobody is safe right now. Let's be very clear. Nobody is safe in this top 4.
Yeah.
Nobody is safe indeed. You can absolutely break down and bubble teams, right? You go down to 5th place. You don't make it, you've got to play in game 6, where we know how that goes. It's just absolutely chaotic. Dream, for you, though, let's talk about Nate Dogg, a team that you said was a hidden gem, and they have been since we've been watching their scoreboard right from game 1, 2, 3, 4, they've been at the top, but now they start to take a bit of a tumble. They're now outside top 4, down to 7th place. Nate Dogg is a guy, though, that has been highly consistent, I would say. Even though they're not getting wins, what has Nate Dogg and his crew been doing well enough in order to stay competitive?
They've been placing consistently, obviously, and had a very strong start. But it's picking up those eliminations early game as well. And then you have Tappa, who is using the signal and able to clean up these fights so successfully. So, I mean, the fact that, like Clown's team, these guys are able to coast, they make it a lot easier for this final drop as to where those teams that did not do well in the first half, now they have to drop a banger game, and that just puts so much more added on pressure for these players. But for Team Nate Dogg, they definitely made it much easier.
Well, I mean, even Nate Dogg himself, 11 eliminations across 3 games. His game 4 stats, not sure, but at least he's been tearing it up and getting around where we need him to get. Now, let's talk, Dandro, about our elimination leaders, because Authorized, from what I'm hearing, took over 21 eliminations, and it makes sense why that roster is currently in first place. When you have a guy like Authorized doing that well, anything is possible.
I mean, just look at how much this is already shaken up from when we looked at this just a couple maps ago, right? I mean, Authorized in these last 2 maps looks like he's definitely kind of found his footing, especially with that Signal 50. I think they're starting to realize where they need to position themselves in some of those zones. But shout out Chrissy, right? Chrissy had that awesome map still up here at the top. Obviously, she was saying, this is my first time running the Signal 50. And maybe just after that map is like, hey, I'm going to keep it going. We've seen a couple other players kind of shake it up. But the biggest thing here, only a 5 kill difference between obviously Booyah in 10th and obviously up there with Authorized in first. So it just goes to show me that there are multiple teams that are having people slay out, and it's not about just one team just absolutely dominating the kill feed. It is yet again people playing their life and playing for those placement points.
Well, you look at it, right? You got Authorized, who's in first stream at 21. Then you have Clown at 19. Those are literally our number 1 and number 2 teams heading in to the 5th and final map when it comes to the LCQ point section before heading into that game 6. I keep iterating that because I just want to make sure that the chat is tracking how today is going to work. But yeah, you got the top 2 Slayers, literally both in a number 1 and 2 position. Slaying in the LCQ has been one of the most important aspects, even more so than placing well.
Absolutely. I mean, we always preach about that. Like, you have to be able to win your ones. And Call of Duty in general, you have to win those ones in any type of situation. But of course, what's as beneficial is, are you able to trade efficiently? And with some of these teams that win these engagements, you'll see teams and players back away. They don't get too overly aggressive, and they're successful in these situations because they're baiting each other out. They're trading. They're backing away. They're re-engaging. So to consistently be able to do that in a lobby like this, it's definitely hard to do. But I mean, some of these squads, they might vouch to try to pick up those early eliminations to like fight and force these engagements before everybody gets settled and gets their loadout.
I was laughing at the beginning of your statement because it's like, you just got to win your gunfights, especially whenever you're in those 1v1s. And I remember playing with the both of you and just me dropping the ball every single time. I hate it, but it's like, you really do have to win those ones because you got one, chink in the armor, man. That armor's going to fail, right? And it's just the way it is. I was that chink. It's PTSD. It's bringing it all back. Regardless, let's talk about, again, just to reiterate how today is going to work, because we continue to talk about that game number 5, right? This is game 5, the chance to get all of the points to qualify into the top 4. So we have our top 4 teams fighting and battling for position. All 50 trios want to get there, but only 4 will make it. After this next game, we have game number 6, the wild card map. It's going to be chaotic. If you didn't join us yesterday, I promise you it starts slow, it ends wild. 46 trios, because we take the top 4 teams who have already got their ticket to London, we take them out.
Wait, so it's 50 teams?
Trios will be competing. And the object of that is,
or does this guy not know math?
It's not about anything like that. It's about getting the victory.
So it should be 40.
So that changes
if it's
everything
48 squads, it should be
Let's bring in our caster, Spider, Tip,
42.
and Ghost, because we've got our final 5th game for the points. Who will break into top 4? Well, we'll have our answer after the game is concluded. Tip, Ghost, take it away.
Oh, I'm ready. Thank you so
Okay.
much. Dandro put it best, right? Anything can happen. We're
That's
about to
fine.
witness
He's not there
a
to do math.
symphony of
He's there to
destruction
commentate.
as our teams completely annihilate each other, but we're going to hold on for just a moment and get some things into gear, Goj, and it's going to be wild.
Yeah, excited to see who's going to be the top Slayer going into the next map. Who's going to break out? Who's going to drop the banger? You're going to have to stay a little bit more patient. I know there's a lot of tweets on the timeline. I want to see more. Who are your predictions to win this map? Maybe we can roll those before we get into it. Hashtag WSOW. We're going to head to a very short break. When we come back, I'm going to see those tweets. We're going to see who that map 5 winner will be.
Rip. How is your thesis coming? Or no progress because busy with moving and family and catching up with old friends. Weeks rip. Yeah, it's to be expected. And moving's always such a pain in the ass. Oh, This is starting to get really, really hot and sexy.
To the World Series of Warzone in
Okay,
Atlanta.
Mouse.
Qualifiers presented
That's why
by
she
Prime
moved there.
Gaming. We had to pull that game 5 back, but trust me, it's going to be up and ready before you know it. And hey, I can't wait to get into it because Dream, this is it. A lot of pressure. It comes down to this. Mind you, Game 6 is there, but you don't want to risk it to that because you never know what you're going to get whenever it comes to that Game 6. So competitors, Game 5, right, going into it, your top 10. What's the game plan?
Listen, you just have to come out with the ice at this point because just like the last game, Levy's team was not even in that top 10 spot and they were able to pull out a massive game. So for this last drop, you have to take it serious. You got to come out with the ice and you have to win every single engagement.
So looking at the standings, Dandra, I'm just kind of going through it. You've got Team Reader in first at 80 points. Then you've got Team 4, Team Prospect at 68. I think Reader's looking pretty solid. Clown Huskers, 74, 72 points. Honestly, pretty good. If I'm Team Prospect, I'm a bit worried because 68 points, honestly, it doesn't make me feel too good, especially whenever you got 67, 62, 61, 61 all right there. So I think Team Prospect's spot is the one at risk the most.
I mean, it definitely is the one at risk the most, but like Dream just said, I mean, we just saw a 48-point game. I mean, if even one of these teams that is basically from 10th up have a 48-point game, it's going to completely just shake up everything here on the scoreboard. So that's the kind of the thing that I'm looking at, that most of these teams need to look at this and realize, like, you just have to have, if you haven't yet today, like, need to have just a very, very, very solid map number 5. Now, what worries me a little bit is traditional Battle Royale last map, right? There are teams who are going to get a little crazy. They're going to push extra fast and that they are going to play maybe more aggressive than you're used to. This map might play extremely quickly, right? And it might just throw a wrench into some of these teams' plans. You go out early, you needed that huge last map. Well, maybe you're not going to London.
I got a question though for you guys. What teams are you looking at that you guys think that can pull out those banger games? Obviously, we know Scum and Irrational for Jace, but like, are there any other squads that you guys think down there that can?
I think so. Nate Dogg, for example, Chrissy. Those would be my two big. Dandra, real quick, who do you think?
I think Q, Ryda, and Booyah. Booyah played his life crazy. I think they can do it in this last game.
There's no
a lot of options out there. Let us know who you think is going to break into top 4 if they haven't already. Spider Tiff Ghost, get back in here. Game 5, it's loaded once again. So without further ado, let's see who's going to be our top 4.
Let's see. This is it. It all comes down to this final map of the series. Granted, Goj, we do have that wild card game, but we're going to chuck that aside because we don't want to leave things to chance. Because honestly, Dandra said it earlier, none of our 4 squads in the top 4 right now are safe. Anything can happen. The points are so incredibly close. And with people winning 48 points, 36-point games, 44-point maps, and for Chrissy in map 2, it is here. You have to play your life, make it the most valuable thing that you can, because it will come down to likely a single elimination.
Well, we've got some crazy things happening for Season 5 as we load into Map 5. You've seen some Twitch polls here. Who would you rather have
when
on your
does Season 5 start?
Snoop Dogg, Nicki Minaj. Looks like it's going to be Snoop 84% of the time. Big swing in the favor of Snoop there as our new skins are introduced into the game. And a lot of fun things coming with Season 5. I'm excited to see how it shakes things up, whether it's in ranked, in the competitions, or just in pubs. Hope you're enjoying the game. We certainly are, and I am enjoying this tournament. Map 5 is here, the last map of the day. Everything on the line, skill on display, and only 4 spots.
Is this a one-day tournament?
Are you joking me, Tim?
LCQ?
This is exactly where I want to be here on a Thursday night.
And here's the deal, you have to earn your spots, right? That global finals already sold out. So
Season 5's next week. I remember because I noticed my tokens were expiring.
You're gonna have to be playing in it, and it all starts here.
You mean starts?
It's atrocious. We're cutting on over
the sound of a plane?
But it doesn't
Oh, sure,
matter.
we're starting.
There are teams that are looking to start their roster and load out into maybe Akhtar Village. Pass, not a bad area, but it will likely be congested.
Here we go. Plane line is out. Like you said, Tiff, everyone dropping, seeing some heavy hitting names and some names that, well, maybe they're just chalking it up and seeing what they can do in the last map in preparation for the wild card. Got several teams within striking distance, but like Raiden said on the timeline, really everyone's within striking distance.
I wonder how many of these people are on controller. Holy shit.
Especially when there's, whoa. What is that? 7 teams at Observatory? Haven't seen this before. Yeah, it's because it's Game 5 of LCQs. Get ready to rock and roll. This
The
could
new
be
map?
to detriment of some of the teams that prefer to land here, like Huskers.
Things are gonna get shaken up. You got Illy, Temp.
Hide the
Luke on
loot
your
streams
screen,
I
falling
follow?
in between Unrational and Scum,
No.
and Temp was one of the first players to actually get knocked here in the lobby. Not fooled though. May be able to get that reset, but watch Waldo Colony. Trey on your screen, some top fraggers here. Looking to get an early, maybe 2 or 3 attachment. Lockman feel confident with that, but peep this. Temp making the rotation
Wow.
in straight towards Jesus.
Yeah, I saw Unrational, 4 in Jace fall, Scummin last alive for that team in Observatory. They cannot get a single thing going. The team that was respectfully probably a shoe-in to take it. The pressure seemingly too much, or just unlucky games. We'll see, hopefully they can battle back. They've been regaining all day today. They're still within striking distance. They certainly have it within themselves to battle back here in the final moments, the final map of the day. But the Nate Dogg team is one of the teams that Dream's been talking about because, well, they've been in the top 10 the entirety of the day. Most of the time in the top 4. Now they're just outside of it. Got to battle back in as well. Iceman Isaac looking for his first good game of the day. Gonna use the helicopter to try to do that.
Believe. Intex Brawlic need to stand out here. Able to grab the knock onto Oak Boy. Isaac coming in, getting the trade in full. Looks like they only need one more member. JC Baby not going to be able to clutch it up for the squad. And just like that, they are eliminated. Intex and
There's no
Believe,
gulag
yes,
here,
they've
right?
lost out on one, but the regain should be okay. Still has the gulags. We're just getting started.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah, that's a tough start yet again for Iceman Isaac squad. They just can't quite click in the chemistry. Only having about a week or so to work together and try to play as a team. Sometimes it just doesn't click. And today's one of those days, but hey, job's not done. Finish out the map well and maybe win the wild card. We'll see. Lanes, Clumsy, Val Nukes have been surprising most with their competitiveness today. Been playing fantastic. Got an opportunity here to go big.
Dark Savid, Cruz, Gunzy. This is their favored drop spot, and they like to hang throughout the mid-game. Don't really leave that. Clumsy win in the gulag against Iceman Isaac. Another team fully sent to the gulag.
Hydro
Juju,
droppers.
De Niro, Locksteel. They need to step up and have some success here as we get a nice zone for our map 5. What a final game here. Most of the POIs in play. No one in Fortress.
No one got a
in
Fortress or
We got
airport? What
squad
the
number
fuck?
10. It's going to be Prospect, Solidify, and Otter Eyes, but we just checked in with it, and as we swing back over, chaos is ensuing. Nate Dogg, just an absolute beast here. Viscerating. Locksteel full dead as well. That PA coming in, and just like that, man. De Niro trying to get out with the heli, but I don't know if it's going to be enough.
It's the right play. You got to dip out of that. The only 2 teams in the southeast portion of the map, by the way, was Nate Dogg and Juju Squad. The only 2 of these teams that are vying for top contention spots, trying to make it to London inside the top 10. Been inside the top 10 all day today. Top teams today battling each other early. De Niro says, I'm getting out of here. All right, checking in, though, with Mutex, Jesus, Huskers. They started in Observatory, and it was real hot to start, so they've moved their way out. Continuing to find teams on their way, though, and on their pathway on the rotation. They might take this fight. If 34 backs out, this could be just a nice team fight to win. And they might just actually try to chase down Team 34. That's Dr. Drummer, who had some early success in map 1, but hasn't had much going since. Now shots from behind. We're having to kind of fight 2 teams at once. Luckily, one team's just running away.
Yeah, Mutex was able to turn around and kind of grab an initial knock onto Z Tankin, which will allow them to continue on their rotation. They're deciding to not vie for that 3v3 against Team Z Tankin, and I respect it. But as we come back
Why does
on
Nightbot
over,
say this is
Solidified,
the
they were rotating out
Euroclass
to
chance
that lower,
qualifier?
kind of most
And
western
why are there only
area of the
50s?
map, and now have finally run into some contention here. This team likely going for a
Why are
read
there only
and jumping
48
straight
squads when
onto
it's
them.
supposedly
Johnny,
50?
Bro needs to hold it down for Team Johnny. Not gonna do it, though.
Not a chance. High ground position, 2v1. Tough wrap, out of here. Where do we go from here? All right, Prospect, Solidify. High value team, certainly. I think we've mentioned this a couple times. Several people thought this team could maybe clamber together and clobber something up.
I'm sick of these desert
just
maps.
Scrappy trio, all very talented at the game. Just the big
What are you
question mark was
talking
chemistry, and done a decent job today.
Fix your game.
Nothing to write home about necessarily, but hey, everyone's in contention. Still possible.
Dak, Bink, and Infinite just called in a loadout. So this is the perfect time for Nate Dogg, Tappa, and Raul to kind of push this. They're going to hear that, get that information, and know it looks like they were able to grab their loadouts prior to Nate Dogg being able to rotate in. They're going to overlook this, have the mortar to work with, and maybe kind of force Infinite and Co. into a really solid... but nah, they're not even going to worry about that. They want the buy. They're going to grab a UAV. They want all the information.
Now, to be very clear, too, by the way, talking about Solidify, they pushed all the way up to 4th after the 4th map. And I know the desk talked about it. Made a massive push to make it in, not even to the top 10, but into the top 4. Having a pretty mediocre day until that last map. Now really fighting for contention for the top spot, proving people right that, yes, individuals still oftentimes can lead to good chemistry. There's a couple other teams fighting for that position, though, and that clown team that's on your screen right now, Team 14, they're in 2nd going into this map, so... Again, proving a lot of people wrong and staying hyper consistent all the way through the first 4. At this point, you just really need to maintain. You need your 74.4. You're really looking for like a 15, 20-point game to make sure it happens. But it's Warzone. Mitigate the RNG. Throw up a big one. Make sure you go to London.
Throw up a big one. Throw up a mobile buy station. Sit on it on a roof and wait for a team that's looking to make a regain land on it. And then you just eat them alive. Dak, Infinite, Bink, though. They had Squad Z tanking, rotating in, but they were able to pick off the captain. Illy, that squad's just not having a lot of luck here, just on the outer skirts. You can see Hook last alive, Clumsy Lanes, and Valnukes just on the other side of them. Queen Shadows, though, had some really big moments here today. Need to find their final form here, though, in map number 5.
It's funny, I was taking a look at Team Bonk. They were 0.2 points away from qualifying to London during Stage 2. They're sitting at 27th right now. Future has game was top Slayer going in to this LCQ of the players that made it into the LCQ coming out of Stage 2. Has currently 4 kills. I don't know what's happened to that squad, but it's been a catastrophic breakdown. I'll be curious to see if maybe they can swing it back during the wild card, but they might be out of it at this point. Let's take a look at the map yet again. Juju squad living up to their kind of the test that they started early of being the team that likes to rotate the most, having to rotate the most yet again in this map, coming all the way down from wherever they were outside of airport, moving their way through observatory now, and it's free and clear.
I like Reader's positioning, right? They had some really solid positioning over there on Quarry when that ring is ended, and they ended up winning that map. Now they're all the way up in Tarak, but Don Lucky, Mire, Regu running into kind of a gauntlet, essentially trying to survive here. They were so close from qualifying in their region expansion, but just kind of not able to string anything here together. Voltrace, Delsky looking to kind of get out of dodge in the helicopter. Mire able to hold a really nice angle from inside, but
where's this audio delay?
Those eliminations, can we see? Nah, I think they're gone.
This is tough. I mean, edge of zone, rotate again, ton of open space. Let's see, Bonk. This is the team I was talking about.
Bonk
seeded first because they were 2 points away. Just haven't quite been able to put it together today. And this is not a squad you want to run into, especially down a person. Yeet and Bonk all alone without their third.
Yeet and Bonk.
Connects on one, misses the window shot. That looked free and clear, but Brawlix pushing the equation. Should be able to catch one off guard. Yeah, Yeet 1-2. No, doesn't get the knock.
Dude, the best names are just simple words, but just spelled funny. Like Bonk. With the Q right there. It's good. That's a name that you'll remember.
This is tough, right? When you're
That's how you get
individually
memorable
pushing
names.
engagements, it doesn't matter if you're zoning it off with a frag. You have to stack it. Take that 2v1. Don't leave anything to chance. But Future, he's pushing. Intex in the full, but gets shredded from behind. Now Brawlix
see it in season
alive.
Ks and Qs too.
Starting to close the distance though. Has angles on Yeet, smoke coming in. You hear the audio.
Oh, God.
He can zone it off. He does turn to the left, but he's gonna get shot from behind.
Oh,
the drop shot.
This will be massive. Able to grab the knock, but not gonna be able to do it in a 1v2. Unfortunately, they will fall here. And mind you, they were at one point in that top 4. And chances seem to be slipping. And
on Yeet.
Ghosh, hear me out, man. Intex is on the timeline talking about barely missing out through the stage 2
he's
finals.
dead. He's dead for sure.
Needs to put something together, have a big stroke of luck, and Sebas, they kind of nice third party there to clean things up for Bonk.
That's a free third party
Bonk.
and a great play there from Sebas's team. They were inside the top 10 actually going into map 4 and then fell out of it. So still within kind of reaching distance.
the audio lagging for
up.
me?
I wonder maybe if Intech Squad just thought we got to throw
Surely
points on the
not.
board. We got to throw points on the board. We're
No,
eighth going into this
can't
lobby.
be.
So they just took that fight. I mean, Brolic went down and then immediately believed the bottom back and he was able to fight back into it. They just didn't
It's
quite
me.
play
No,
together.
don't
I don't know if there's a
gaslight me
lack of
like
comms
that.
or just they couldn't get
It's
to a
impossible.
position to work together. That's a huge loss. Not over yet though. Likely in the gulag. Likely still games to be played. I don't know if they were fully wiped out of this lobby or not, but still one you're gonna want to get back.
Gonna be the biggest 1v1s of their life, and people were asking who is the teams that could potentially stand up and take a banger map here in the final game. And IQ Rida Booyah, this is the name that keep coming up, and as I say that, Clumsy Lanes completely annihilates them. Rida last alive from the top of the staircase.
That's why you
Gonna
never push a
obviously have
building
to
in
play
this
and
game.
value your life in this engagement, but if I'm Lanes and Valnukes, I am just swarming like sharks around Chum. But look,
I don't want to
who's in the
reload. I
vicinity
have
as
to watch
well,
another
Scumming.
fucking ad.
Uh-oh, Janiro's in trouble. They've had to rotate.
See, those were on
Doesn't always
sound.
mean that
Those
they're
were
going to
on
have the best
sound, Q.
rotation. Oftentimes, it means they're going to be running into a ton of squads you're going to have to fight through that have better positioning than you. And that's exactly what just happened. Steel and Juju elect to wrap completely out underground and around the corner. As Team 29, Almighty, Ripper, DV, looking for their
my
piece of the
audio's
action
fine.
here on height. Let's swing over to a couple more teams on the fringe, on the bubble. Nico Infinite, Desmond Crowder, they won a map. They're battling
See,
here.
that audio is
Finding
aligned.
one from distance, and they were 10th, I believe, going into this lobby, or close to it. Yes, 10th going into the final map. Certainly within reach, but they need to drop a big one. We know they can do it. They got to do it again, though.
Coach, if I had $1 for every time I've seen someone try to drop off the top of a rooftop and get completely annihilated while parachuting, I would probably be rich by now. Unfortunate for them, but Desmond going big. That was your map 3 winners. Now we cut on over to Almighty, TJ, DV, and Ripper. Just on the lower side of kind of this mountain, we've seen a lot of the engagements. I had the dolphin diving mountain goats playing in the EU yesterday, but Huskers, Jesus Mutex. We saw Brolic and co trying to hit the regain. Intex and Believe still up. They just lost out on Brolic. Over here at Oil, not a bad area to regain, especially where the zone is starting to pull, but still tough when you keep running into the heavy hitting teams.
Yeah, Believe's team just is bleeding.
Notice how the second there's a smoke on the ground and the player loses aim assist, they literally cannot aim at all.
Huskers team holding down his PI. They're just waiting for
It's
people to come near
hilarious.
them, and
Oh my
it's
God.
working. Believe is trying to stabilize, and they still have yet to do so. Now the team in first out of nowhere, Lovey, Authorized, Reader. At this point, you can't play defensive, but
Oh
you
my
are
God.
at the top, right? So
Oh.
you can find some eliminations. Oh, out of the window, Authorized is hitting that. Hanging out of the window of a Bertha, hitting, I think, a
How they'll
snipe
play when they're not at
to
their
grab
home.
an
Yeah, that'll be
elimination.
interesting.
Our top fragger thus far.
It's interesting
That
because
team
some
is
will
doing
play
some
better
wild,
and
wacky
some will
strats
play
apparently
worse.
that
Most
work.
will play worse.
I love it. Honestly, you look back to the stage
Did he
2
snipe him
finals,
out of the
Authorized
truck?
had
No, he was
9
running.
eliminations, and
But he was
honestly, if we're gonna
he
pull
was
out
in
all
the truck,
stops,
yeah.
Here is where you need to do it.
Nutty
Speaking of,
shot.
Nate Dogg consistently in that top 4, but has fallen out of it, and now we are asking for their best performance of the day here in the final map. Unrational, last standing, it appears, for
Unreal.
that squad, and I feel like I don't want to say the pressure is kind of crushing them, because at this point, if you're going to be Atlas, you've got to hold up that rock. But Unrational, we've seen you clutch before. We're going to ask you to do it right now.
Yeah, your whole team's asking for it. Been in a blender this whole tourney, and yet somehow has held on to top 15.
A blender.
Just outside of top 10 pretty much the entirety of the tournament. Their ability to regain and restabilize over and over and over again when the mental is chalked is
P90.
formidable.
I heard
P90
P90 is pretty good right now.
Yet. So he's going to have to clutch yet again with 3 teams around. Team 20, 38-6, all hunting. Didn't spot Unrational from distance, so might
Bunny
have a free
time.
and clear rotate out of here. We're worried about these teams of 3.
He's going for the buy station
Nah, I'm
right now.
probably
There's
still
a
gonna
buy
run a
station down
lock.
where Unrational is, and if these squads are engaging with each other, he should be able to get at least one of his teammates back, however much time he has. But Lane's, Valnukes, Clumsy, they have just kind of been the Grim Reapers
the only
of
day
the
for this? Why
squads
is
that
it
have been
on the
performing
Thursday?
really well. But when they run up into an engagement with them, their fight so incredible. And yeah, Scummin flew back in the distance. We just need to find the final one.
Here we go. Who's gonna win this fight?
my
on
God, you
edge
have
of
that
zone?
down, Nate
Lots
Dogg.
of nades. Nothing yet. Actually, it looks like Lanes is gonna push this fight. A massive one for
One's
Clumsy
down.
Lanes and Valnix.
Push.
I don't know if it'll be
At the
enough.
same
but
time, because the game
really
design
give them
shouldn't.
any impetus into the top 4, but they have a chance to wipe a team that's vying for top position, jockeying around inside the top 10 all day today, even holding first place for a little while. Clumsy trying to go big. Clumsy's on 8,
Nice.
looking for his 9th, grabs it, playing with lanes,
Ooh.
could find his 10th from above. Clumsy is going massive for his squad right now. And this is a near flawless execution. No has lost. 1, it's a 2v2. They've got to win this. They've got to push the fight. They've got to get into double digit. Clumsy could go massive here and jump this leaderboard dramatically. Tiff, we're going to have to take a look at where they're at. I think they were in the 20th going into this one.
Yeah. 41.4. This is massive, right? They're able to grab Raul, but here's the deal. I called them the Grim Reapers for a reason, Goj. Oh, wait, Nate Dogg clutched it up for the squad. Consistency. My man, Nate Dogg.
Telling you, this game
you're a beast.
rewards.
Everything was
Or
flawlessly
punishes
executed in that team,
aggression.
but until that last moment, you knew they were bottom floor and you jump up the top, that you knew they likely had a sight line for that jump. You're going to get shot before you hit the ground and then get finished off. Oh, so close. Had a chance for a banger of a map. It's not over yet. Potentially in Gulag. We'll check in with them a
Jump
little
down
bit
and start
later. Watch out for
shooting,
Clumsy's team. They could
but
make
not
a
when,
dramatic
you
leap.
know.
Will it be enough to go top 4? Likely not.
At
But who
first.
knows? Check in with a couple of our other squads inside of top 5, top 10. Autorize, Prospect, last 2 alive for their team. In a little bit of trouble. These is must-win scenarios. They're knocking on the door to London. They're asking the pilot to open up the door. Drop down the bridge. Drop down the ladder. So far, the pilot is acquiescing to their request. They just haven't boarded the plane to London. Not yet. An opportunity to do so as they rotate in free and clear after wiping the teams around them.
Wow, that reverse. Wow.
To London to get in the plane, but Brolic taking out Mire, who was doing a little door dance in the vehicle. Now they've got themselves a vehicle. They're holding a good position just on the inside of circle. Brolic on 6. They're knocking on the door. Just a solid like 3.2 points outside the top 4. There are going to be hearts breaking in some very massive teams that will not be showing up to the largest Warzone tournament in history.
Tiff, mark my words right now. I guarantee it'll be less than a point between at least 2, if not 3 squads trying to make top 4. It is going to be that close. We have a ton of teams inside the top 10 still alive as we make our way into the top 25. We're about halfway through this lobby. You can see Intex believe Brolic. They were in 8th, I believe, going into this one.
This woman talking straight from her ass gets timed out.
So many teams battling for top position,
Is
and many
Warzone
of them
making a
still alive.
comeback? No, it's not.
Ooh, almighty TJ squad just got dropped.
No.
Irrational finding another string of bad luck in the kill feed, gets dropped, was able to get Scumming back. I believe they were also able to get their 3rd in the game as well, so probably still a duo roaming Al Mazrah, but Prospect and Autorize reigning in the trigger discipline, looking for that kind of holding the gas wrap. And I don't hate this, but how open this is going to be is going to be a little messy. So the rotation in with the vehicle is the way to go. You can see some teams are flying in. It's going to be squad number 18 just overhead, Team Colony 2K, but they're
Bonk baby in the kill feed.
Probably have a heli.
Lovey's still in it. Lovey's actually found De Niro off screen. Another team at the top, still jockeying for position. This is crazy. I mean, I spot 5-6 teams still in this lobby that are inside the top 10. They're the top teams for the reason today. Consistency has been king, and it's paying off. Look at there they are. Authorized
Team
Lovey
Clown's
Reader
catching
off in the
up.
distance, still up inside the top 20. Teams are about to start dramatically dropping out as this circle is pushing wide out into the open. Some pieces of cover already occupied. That's 45 there on the mini-map and a piece of cover inside the zone. Team 33. 45 is Husker squad. Doing fantastic to set themselves up for London. Prospect and Otter, just a brutal spot to be in between several different teams. If those teams aren't being harried, they're going to get knocked, and that's exactly what happens. Colony goes down. A smoke and a loadout is all you have to cover these advances. Teams from behind, teams in front. Tiff, this is looking grim for the team on screen.
I am literally about to grind my teeth just watching this. This is the scariest position I have seen. You know Brolic has that signal 50 just behind you, but you called it out. Huskers team early on elected to rotate out of this POI early on. So now all the teams
Huskers
that
is
are
Team
still out
10,
here
right?
on that gas line are going to have to rotate straight into them.
This is That's exactly right. They're in a perfect position. This is, I mean, this is Warzone, I know, but this is warfare for Prospect and Otter, and I think Prospect's just going to leave Otter and try to make it in. You need the multiplier. Try to secure your place. You got to make top 10. You got to make top 5. You need every ounce of every point you can get. One kill might matter. One place might matter. Intex looking for both right now. Munch out in the stairs. Takes down. No, Clown wins the gunfight. Clown goes down. A trade comes through, but you're going to hate to not have Intex in the final circle here. Brawler trying to wrap in, and look who's harrying them from distance. Huskers team around the corner, inside of the zone, ready to rock and roll, like Tiff said, and Prospect out in the zone, finally falls. Doesn't make it to top 10. That likely means Prospect won't make London, but I can't call it yet. The math ought to come for the back end. Brolic also just trying to skate to this next zone and hold on, get to top 10, get to the 1.6 times multiplier. And look who is here waiting on everyone to come crawling to them on the edge of zone. Not a lot of kills to boot, at least not for Huskers, but an opportunity. Drifts, tries to go big, doesn't find it. A knock into a down and a full. Jesus has been lost. Here's the footsteps, turns. A big win, they're still in it, but not as favorable position with the zone pull.
Gosh, they're not in the top 4. This is vital for them to pick up as many eliminations as possible. Now we're down to just one member, but I believe that Team Intex just got wiped. Brolic is down and out. 8 squads remaining, still in that 1.6x multiplier. But if you've already fallen, you are just sitting on pins and needles waiting to see, was it enough? Am I going to London? Because our teams are still fighting it out. Colony, 2K, Watch Waldo, Trey. This is going to be a big fight here between Huskers and Mutex.
This is a must win. If you want to go to London, you must win this gunfight. And they're backing up. They grabbed one knock. No, they're getting shot from behind. They're in trouble. A little bit of cover. The Dolphin dives. Somehow they're not going down. Huskers still up. Mutex goes down. It's all up to Huskers. Has he clutched before? Yes. Do they have enough eliminations? Even if they make it to top 10, maybe top 5 rather, they do make it there. I don't know if they have enough eliminations for it to matter. Huskers has to win, and he has to find several limbs. Look at Nate Dogg though. Tiff, 9 eliminations, top 5. Nate Dogg likely has just booked a ticket to London with a massive effort here, especially if they win down to 3 teams.
Team Reader just fell, but they may have done enough. Nate Dogg was not in the top 4. They just denied Team Prospect from that. Team Huskers, though, trying to do the most they can. Just
I don't know about this.
less than 2 points. Big
Oh wow, good teamwork. Good trade. They're not in it as well. Surely they don't wipe this team.
6 going big here, finding one. Tapa gonna try to take down Watch Waldo, but falls. The trade from Nate Dogg. It comes
1v1.
10 eliminations. Look who's last alive. It's Huskers in a final 1v1. They eliminated each other. Who wins the gunfight? Huskers pushing the fight. Zoning off with the grenades. Finding it. Swings around the corner.
Nah, wow.
Anyway. Nate Dogg gets the better of Huskers for the win. Nate Dogg with 11 eliminations. A massive map. Likely just punching their tickets to London with a flawless execution in the final.
Should have armored all the way.
The big question in my mind, was it enough from Huskers? I don't know.
Team
it's
45.
So close at the top.
That might have been the kill that was needed to seal their ticket to London. Huskers was trying to clutch it up. Was it enough? I don't think so.
Here we go. Let's take a look at that winning moment.
Nice, get the phone. I'm getting all the points. He's getting close. Lighting. Almost cracked. Almost.
Nate Dogg on top played so well here.
One more, Nate. I got sight from the left. I'll do one. 1v1. One side, left side. He's pushing up to the silo. On the silo. Big position. He's close, Nate.
Yeah, see, that's what Husker should have done. Yeah, right there. That's huge. Yeah, he should have armored instead of challenging that.
Let's fucking go, baby. Let's fucking go. Look how we fucking did last game, baby. Let's fucking go. With me. Let's go. Let's fucking go, baby. Let's fucking go, baby.
61.4 points
Holy
going into
shit.
that last map and a 36-point victory. Does it send them to London? I think so. A massive map victory to finish this thing outright. They were in the top. They were in the top 4 pretty much all day today. They crept out going into the final map. But Tiff, consistency is always on top. Consistency is king. We saw it yesterday. We saw it again today. Nate Dogg, incredible performance.
Can I be a little cringe right now, Goj? Do you give me permission to be a little cringe?
Cringe away.
He's got the dog in him, bro. Cue the the GIF. Like, we need to see it. We need the picture. Nate Dogg, an absolute beast. We've been talking about it all day, and they locked it in for the final game. He's got the dog in him.
Sure, we'll go with that. He's got that dog in him. But the big question on my mind is, did Huskers do enough? Only time will tell. Matt's got to be done from the back, and I don't envy the admins. Tempered may have just won Nate Dogg that victory. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with some analysts, some leaderboards, and maybe that wild card as well.
Does wildcard go off the leaderboard still? Or is it literally just like whoever wins? Because that'd be interesting. The winner. Holy. So they could be sitting at the bottom of the leaderboard right now. That's how it should be. That's a true wildcard.
Get free games and in-game content such as the Rat Pack with Prime Gaming. Visit gaming.amazon.com. Hit the gas and don't let up with this World Series of Warzone pack featuring a speedy operator skin and a powerful blueprint. Available in store using Call of Duty points. And welcome back, everybody, to the World Series of Warzone NA Last Chance Qualifiers presented by Prime Gaming. Prime Gaming! Hey, World Series of Warzone wouldn't be possible without them. If you want to get free games and in-game content with Prime Gaming, make sure to type in chat !Prime Gaming. Even got the Rat Pack bundle that could be available. Like I said, !Prime Gaming, check them out. But let's get into the meat and potatoes, right? That was the fifth and final game for points. Our top four teams, the scores are being tallied. Who will they be? Well, we've got some good ideas. First, let's start off, though, and Dream, I want to go back to Observatory, and the reason why 7 teams landed Observatory for final game.
7
teams. Wanting to get scrappy. Huskers, as well as the CDL boys, were 2 of those teams. Huskers makes it out, and that was the start of his run to trying to make it in the top 4.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, landing there, of course, like we've seen them consistently kind of not really switch to that strategy, but they're able to win those engagements and reposition to be able to stay alive so late game. And, you know, I noticed that even it seemed like it was happening kind of the same thing over at Hydro, where you had some of these lower teams kind of forcing these engagements. Obviously, we know they needed to pick up eliminations to pull themselves up on that leaderboard, but it just seemed like a lot of these teams really were set up for success in that late game because of their early rotations.
But let's go to you, Dan, right? Because for me, man, it was Nate Dogg versus Lockstill at a certain point very early on. Lockstill, Nate Dogg, 6th and 7th place respectively. Nate Dogg wins the fight.
Yeah, and I actually think it was like that moment we saw a little bit ago on
that
screen
reverse
where
on
they
the
had that
RTV
fight
though.
against Clumsy and
Holiday.
Valnukes, where they kind of just win the
Or
50-50 and they're able to kind of, they lose one player in the engagement, but they're able to keep two of their other remaining teammates up. And I feel like that's a huge swing moment for them, right? Because if they're not able to win that fight, the rest of the lobby does not play out how it might, right? They're not in those positions to get a lot of those end game kills. Maybe Huskers is able to grab a couple more
Oh
kills.
my
It's just, it's kind of like this
gosh.
butterfly effect through the rest of the lobby. So I'm not surprised to see that they're here. They've been grinding this out all day long. They've been grinding all week. I really feel like this last map was the culmination of all of their hard work.
Saw Authorized there in the final top 5. I know Scumman was trying his best to stay alive as long as possible just to try and get into top 4. He was there in the top 12 position. Last time I checked when I was watching his stream, they were going through a difficult time in that 5th and final game. But that 1v1, let's talk about that 1v1 at the end, Dream, right? It's Huskers versus Nate Dogg for top 4 position. Huskers needs to win that fight for the 2x multiplier. That fight could very well be the fight that put him outside of top 4.
Yeah, we'll definitely see there, but I mean, how well these guys were slaying. And with this, I mean, Nate Dogg just moving back and forth to try to just get into a position to where he could take the engagement. But the fact that, well, I mean, it was speculated that Tempered, of course, saved his life here at the end. But I mean, it's also take into consideration the fact that those close quarter engagements for mouse and keyboard players, I just wanted to add, it's kind of hard to take. It's kind of hard to win those, especially versus a controller player.
Well, let's dive a little bit deeper because maybe not chat doesn't understand as to why that is. Why would it be a little bit more difficult? Is it just a tracking of it? Tracking of the player?
Well, I mean, auto aim, right? People say that it's just easier with the controller, but some people just are more comfortable with it. But for mouse and keyboard players, yes, it is in fact harder because of the tracking.
Hey, tough to break down, man, if that's the reason why I ended up losing it. Dandro, though, let's take a step back in time and go back to map number 1. And this is where we saw a team kind of, Drakota, right? We weren't expecting them to really win this, but they do so in good fashion, 24 points. And the thing, though, is map number 2, when we get to that point, they kind of fell off. But this is where I was like, Drakota, them, right? This could be, in my opinion, a dark horse team for 24 hours ago. All of a sudden, now could be winning and going to the global finals.
Yeah, they kickstarted the day in a beautiful fashion, right? I think they just had no expectations onto themselves going into this map, and I think you really saw it, kind of come through. They're a team that's played a little bit, like we said, it was formed very last minute, but they were able to kind of come together, use that natural team chemistry, and find a great game. It's unfortunate that they weren't able to find more success throughout the day, but I think this is just kind of a great kind of showcase of what World Series of Warzone is all about. You have this last team that comes in last second to a last chance qualifier and is still being competitive among some of the best of the best.
That's right, being competitive against the best of the best, and what a performance that was for Drakota and crew. But game number 2, like I said, just didn't go their way. We look at some weapon Elam stats. The Lockman throughout the qualifiers has been the superior SMG to use. The Cronin follows, but the Signal
some
makes
ISO users.
Well, I shouldn't even say resurgence, but at least gets onto the radar for tons of players, and it really has transformed the way that World Series of Warzone has been played. This was that 1v1 at the end, or excuse me, I believe a 2v1 if I'm not mistaken. But again, good on Drakota, Dream, to take map 1 regardless.
Yeah, for sure. We'll see definitely where that puts them. But that you mentioned the signal usage. I mean, just from that map 1, the fact that there was 29, and then I think we doubled that throughout the tournament, like hitting like 42. It's absolutely insane. But we see how the signal has played into effect the last couple of days. But Team Chrissy, though, amazing signal plays from her. Right. This drop, like, first time too. Not really necessarily like in her comfort zone, but being able to take this is huge.
Yeah, moving from Australia, I believe to Canada, if I'm not mistaken. Chat was kind of correcting me on that. I said NA before, but moves to Canada, plays with the OG of Gooey. Clay, not so much is known, but this roster, this trio, Dandro, made it happen, and they did so in great fashion. It was our highest scoring game that we had for the day.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of a wild map to kind of witness. I love what they were able to do, right? This was obviously a lot faster of a map. Kind of going into the start of Zone 5, we had almost half of the lobby just gone. And this team, I think, realizes that, and they make this early rotation. Seeing that this is going to be wide out in the open, they grab the spot, they have Signal 50s in hand, and they're just ready to kind of pick apart any of these other teams who are just scrambling, right? It's one thing when you try and make it into this scenario where you're just throwing down smokes, you're trying to stay alive as long as you possibly possibly can. But like we see here, when you have a Signal 50 with that Schlager optic, I talked about it earlier, it doesn't matter if you have smokes. They pick up an insane amount of kills. They end that map number 2, 22 total kills, 44 points on the board.
There's Waldo again. Now, did Waldo ever break into top 10? He's been a big talking point throughout the day, and I swear to you, Dream, every clip that I see, Waldo is just all of a sudden there, and he's either throwing nades at his feet or he's getting gunned down, but sometimes he's making some incredible plays. But Waldo was a big storyline, at least for me, even if it wasn't into top 10. Dream, we move into game number 3, Nico, Desmond, Crowder, right? We had a chance to interview Nico. Wonderful smile, by the way. He was so happy to take that victory, but Crowder's IGL leadership seems to pay off.
Yeah, absolutely. And this was such a huge game too, because you had Desmond picking up those eliminations, and the rotation for this pulled over towards City. So I mean, just being able to be set up, but the fact that Nico and Desmond made the crazy plays to re-wrap through the gas and be one of those first teams to set up early, they were able to take out all of their opponents and win the game. So yeah, being able to set up early was the name of the game for some of these rounds, but the fact that they were able to pick up the eliminations along the way, and you see too more signal usage as well this map, it really changed drastically from 29 to 42.
Yeah, gains in popularity, right? Lockman goes down, I believe, 130 in the last game to this game, 99.
Oh my god, did he get finished in the air? Surely not.
Sounds like this that were relatively open, Dandro.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's kind of the beauty of the Signal, right? It's especially if you have even 2 players running it. Like, if you're able to both team shot a single player, it's such an easy pick, and it just allows for, you know, when you're running something like a Cronin or a full auto weapon, it's hard to kind of get these picks where you can kind of weave in, right? Somebody throws a shoulder, they peek out. The Signal just allows you to get those picks a whole lot better, and I got to imagine that's how, you know, Nico and Dez and Crowder, that's really what they were feeling when it came obviously to that map. But a team that we know that did some fantastic things with the single, it was obviously Team Reader in that map number 4. We saw Authorize popping off at the end with that gun.
Oh, popping off indeed. This was a big game. This was the highest scoring game we had seen today at 48 points, beating that of Chrissy Dream, who had 44 after game 2. And this is what put Reader, Authorize, and Lovey potentially into the global finals.
Yeah, I mean, and even into that last game, like, you kind of saw them roaming around Bram Tarak, like, just driving around in the vehicles, because at that point they like, no, hey, we set ourselves up for this last drop, like, we're just gonna set up, maybe pick up a couple of kills along the way. It just, either which way, this was huge for them. And I think as a squad too, they had like 53 or something in total for eliminations. So yeah, it comes into play with the signals, and when you have those first opening picks as well as in those open zones, look how it benefits you.
That's right, benefits you greatly, doesn't it, Dream? Wonderful work from all of our top squads, and now it is time to pull up our stats. And again, what are we looking at going into it? Obviously, top 4 is the important part, but we have questions. Huskers, without the 2x multiplier, did he make it in the top 4? Is Reader still there? Clown had a heroic effort at the end. Nate Dogg, does he go from 7th into top 4 after that massive game? Well, let's get all our questions answered. Dandro, let's break it down. Who's our top 4?
Woo, look at these scores, baby. Team Intex with a heroic game number 5, shoot their way up top of the leaderboard, just barely edging out Nate Dogg, who are able to win that map number 5 and be right up there with them, not too far behind. It's Team Reader, who off the back of that 48-point game, they're able just to kind of continue moving it up a little bit. And in 4th, it is Team Clown with 87. But here's the heartbreak of this story. Huskers, 85.2. It literally came down to that last final kill and getting the 2x multiplier.
That's actual pain.
Between them making it to London or not.
That actually
so
sucks.
And, you know, we talk all the time about, like, you know, oh, if you only got that 1 kill. But guess what? That 1 kill could have come across all of their entire games.
That's true, but
such
still.
a nail biter. But what an insane way to have our top 4 teams move on.
It is, and you can argue too, if Nate Dogg doesn't win that 1v1 and get the 2x multiplier himself instead of 1.8x, does he break into top 4? Because from 1st to 4th, 97 points was first with Intex, and then you dropped all the way down to 87. It was as close as it could possibly get. And for Huskers, less than 2 points away. He will be the bubble team. But hey, if you're a Huskers fan, if you're a fan of anyone down the list, Prospect, Lockstill, Chrissy, Colony, Desmond, they still have one more game. Our wild card, game number 6 to decide it all. Who will be our 5th and final team to punch their ticket to the global finals? All your answers will be coming up after this break.
Yeah, that sucks.
And welcome back, everybody, to the World Series of Warzone NA Last Chance Qualifiers, presented by Prime Gaming. I'm Taylor Reflections Noble, joined by Dream Crazy and Dandro. Game 5 has concluded. We know our top 4 teams go into the global finals, and we have one more game to go. Our game number 6, our wild card game. Now, for those who are in chat, maybe you're just joining us, or maybe you weren't here for the EU action yesterday, I'm going to have Dream Crazy, who was here alongside me, talk about how today is going to work, specifically going into that game number 6, because LCQ, a lot different this time around.
Yes, indeed. And of course, this wild card map, we will see the last remaining trios drop into this last map. And the winner takes all. The winner goes to London. Not taking anything, essentially. But yes, yesterday we saw Tactical Brit take it, which was absolutely insane. But some of these circle zones, I mean, you saw the first moving zone, there was like, what? There were so many teams left, like 41 squads. It was chaotic.
It was insane. I could not believe how crazy it was to see that final end zone, and how happy I was almost because you know, Pentagon was there, and I really thought he was going to be able to just walk his way in and take it over, but unfortunately just wasn't to come to fruition, although a phenomenal effort. And for you, Dandro, right, that game number 6, I mean, what was the key takeaway? Because you've watched a lot of Warzone, brother, but never anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually like really interesting how sometimes some of the strategies that we see people like do in the solo YOLO kind of come over to this, right? The biggest thing I think I saw is that the people who are able to really just stack their resources were the ones that are able to kind of stay alive the longest. The biggest thing, right? You really don't need like a loadout. Like maybe you hit a buy station to like get perks or something, but you don't necessarily need your weapons. Like if you have weapons that you feel confident taking a gunfight with, you're feeling good. The one thing that was really cool though is I think it's the teams that were able to find mobile buy stations. I think that was a critical piece for some squads, because if you're able to be up at top with your mobile buy stations, right, you can buy anything you need to kind of survive as long as you can. Maybe additional gas masks, maybe a munitions box, get your stims back, maybe teammates. It's just like allows you to have just so much more mobility and ability to stay alive throughout the rest of the map.
You know, high ground is important too. There was a moment where we saw, I believe it was Team Maze who was holding down that tower up top. I think I brought that up at the beginning of the show. Either way, it was a talking point yesterday, Dream, and I really thought that was going to be the game-winning strategy. But those moving zones, they're tricky. You know, it forces everybody just to relocate, and you do got to keep, you know, your head on a swivel.
Yeah, it's like one of those things where you want to be set up to where you can get out of any situation possible. And like for Team Maze, I believe we had saw one up top, 2 down low, and essentially they were just working these buildings, these positionings to where, yeah, you have to stay alive, but you have to be able to recover too as well. And it's so hard to do with all these squads. But resources are key, and self revives, right? Like we were kind of wondering, will we see a res off? Like I don't know, it's crazy.
I thought we were going to have a res off, or at least someone attempt that, when Pentagon was hanging on the outside. He was by himself. His other 2 teammates had died off already. I thought he was, because he was in the gas for quite some time. I was like, you know, he's going to try and res gut himself, because we didn't have his perspective, so I don't know what he had in his inventory, but he had to make that last ditch effort, that sprint into the middle, and there was just like a little cart to hide behind once the zone was actually closing, and it was just such a tense moment. Dandro, we went, I want to say 12 minutes, 17 minutes, something like that. We had only had 1 squad drop in a span of 17 minutes. Albeit, we did have a pretty crazy start on
That's
this
insane.
rooftop. At least 4 teams land there, and they're all fighting with X-12s. It was wild.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of the fun part. I feel like everybody landed, they were all battling each other, like, wait, why are we doing this? Like, everybody just run away. Like, we don't need to be here, right? But yeah, I think everybody was just playing their life super well. Everybody, I think, is like, has this like mutual agreement. Like, we don't have to necessarily like fight each other right now. I think a lot of times we saw teams that were taking battles against each other is because they wanted positioning. They're like, hey, you have a rooftop. I want this rooftop. Like, get out of here, right? and so then we would see a fight against. Otherwise, people were so okay. Just like if they were in different, you know, have multiple teams in a building, they were also okay. Just everybody hanging out. Be like, yeah, you can sit down there. I'm up here. Don't come up here. If you do, I'm taking you out. But just stay down there. Like, it's okay. So I think that's kind of the mutual respect across a lot of teams. What we saw in EU today, but it's a new lobby, right? NA maybe a little more aggressive. Maybe they just really want to get their anger out. Some of these teams who didn't make it to London, they're saying we're just gonna take over.
Yes,
the lobby
Americans
and
are angry.
eliminate everyone and get our position. I don't know. Maybe.
It's all about positioning, you know, streaks, whatever. But I want to talk about something fun, because let's go back in time to the first solo YOLO, right? Scump, he's still playing in the CDL. He's still a competitor. He hasn't retired yet, right? He wins the solo YOLO from the CDL, and he kind of shows these Warzone boys and girls up, right? And I was like, wow, he's, of course, the king making some magic happen. Now, Danger's, yeah, maybe. But I want to say this. We do still have 3 CDL players looking to do almost the same thing. It's not solo YOLO, granted, but it is a 1-map qualifying match. These CDL guys, right? Look, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. They were almost non-existent, right, throughout the day. But regardless, though, if anybody can do it, these 3 can dream. They've been your team to watch.
Yeah, I don't even maybe they still though it's just gonna be, I feel like, just RNG and luck at this point. You never know, it could happen. And for Temp, I mean, man, he was part of that Vegas Legion squad. I was definitely cheering this guy on, and I mean, with how consistent this guy has been playing throughout the CDL Pro League, and I mean, just throughout the years, man, I've watched this guy grow up, like all of them, since they were like 14, just shredding it. So is it possible? Yeah, they definitely have the experience when it comes to the map, but we'll see.
Hey, Tactical Brit did it with the team he formed less than 24 hours prior. Okay?
Exactly.
So anybody can do this. I don't even care. CDL teams, if they make it happen, though, the COD universe is just going to blow up at that point. I'm just calling it now. Let's recap, though, today, because we had a lot of great matches and some heartbreaking ones, right? From that game number 5, we go back to map 1, and again, Dracoda, that's where he ended up getting his start, and a wonderful start it was. And I really thought this trio, I'm like, man, we are going to see a dark horse team, a team that, formed not too long ago, a team that was not existent in Stage 1 NA Finals, Stage 2 NA Finals, truly make something happen. And unfortunately, they didn't, but it was still great to see them. And it showed during the LCQ, the reoccurring theme for me, Dandra, was anybody has a chance.
Yeah, I mean, anybody has a chance to be here. That's kind of the beauty of the World Series of Warzone. I feel like this team maybe just suffered a little bit from kind of everybody has these nerves of lobby number 1, right? We heard Nico kind of talk about it, where they specifically even said, like, hey, we were playing way too passive and we had to get more aggressive. And I think just that was a wide felt sort of feeling across a number of teams. And they just happened to be the squad that maybe had nothing to lose. They were just flying at everything and were finding a lot of kills, right? But they weren't able to translate it to the rest of the day. So congratulations on taking game number 1 and very convincing, right? 17 kills, 34 points. Definitely a very solid game from them, but unfortunately could not convert to the rest of the maps.
Couldn't convert it, but they definitely tried. Also, take note of all the weapon elim stat down below. The signal currently sitting at 29. It will continue to grow as the maps continue. As we go through the recap, that's just because the signal became more and more popular, given the new update that happened just last week. And it just really was one of the weapons that kind of dominated the meta from, I would say, yesterday to today. We go to game number 2. And again, this is where Chrissy representing. We only have one female who's currently competing in the global finals. That is Smixy. After this win, Dream, I had faith we would have yet another.
Yeah, it really seemed like it. I mean, this was, like, at this point, the biggest game, 44 points to be able to put up. And I mean, with that signal in hand too, just the calls and the comms that she was making, like, just something that you always expect to see from her, as she's just been dominating over the years. But with this game, it was just one of those things where, yeah, we saw more signal usage, but we did have a drop off even in that map 5 where teams were forced to play aggressive. So from that map 1 into map 2, it seems like teams just got a little bit more information. They kept up, like, the teams that needed to get eliminations, obviously changed the standings a little bit, but we did see a shift in this game too.
I would say we definitely saw a shift, and I believe Chrissy was our kill leader, right, Danjo, after this game, I think with a total of 12. Or
yeah,
no, it was 20 something, wasn't it?
It was up there. It was definitely. It was not 12 because they kind of the first 2 maps they hadn't really found their footing, and she even said in that interview that we did after the map, right, that they're like, yeah, maps 1 and 2 were just kind of chalked, or map 1 rather, and then by the time we get to map 2, we kind of figure it out, right? And I think obviously as a squad they did pretty well to obviously get there. But map number 3 was a whole different story. We had Nico, Dez, and Crowder who were able to take it on home, and this was a squad that a lot of people were kind of thinking in the back of their heads, like, hey, they have a real shot at qualifying. solidifying. They pick up Crowder right off of after a lackluster stage 2, and Crowder just brings this communication level up that we heard in the interview. And obviously it kind of worked out for them. 18 kills, 36 points.
Hey, Crowder came in with realism. He said, look, your guys' comms, they're just not good, okay? I'm coming from the CDL where the comms are pristine. Let's clean that up a bit. But it paid off. It really did. With the game victory, clearly Nico is very happy. Desmond and co eventually finish off in 10th place. But they are going into game number 6, which we've talked about is very chaotic. But communication is going to be key for a victory. So I think even with Crowder going into game 6, this game 3, right, during the first 5 games was representative of what we can expect in our final game today.
Yeah, for sure. And I think Coach said it. Are we shooting bodies here? Like, that was actually a situation, too, where it looks like they almost lost it, too, you guys.
You can't shoot bodies like that. Come on, like, especially in a chaotic in-game like that, it's just not worth it, because you go from looking like a G to looking like a clown really quickly if it doesn't pay off. But luckily, the guy that was shooting bodies, I don't think it was on purpose, to be fair, but it was something anyways. You know, in the heat of the moment, was something like, is he really doing that? I think he was just going for the finish. But we go to game number 4, and this was our highest scoring game of the day, in the 40s. I believe 48 points total, 24 kills, and this was a big moment for me because it really showcased, like, okay, this is a team we weren't necessarily highlighting too much, Dandro, but a team we had to pay attention to because they put themselves in first after this game number 4.
Yeah, they went from being nowhere on the leaderboard to being top of the boards off of this game alone. 24 kills, 48 points, and it was all off the back. I think if we saw Authorized was kind of going huge with the signal in this sort of very awkward end zone, right? It's like kind of multi-level. We're over here outside Corey. We got some blocks that we can hide around, but this team, they're able just to kind of laser it on up, and that's exactly what they needed, because obviously without that game, they're nowhere near close to top, but because they're able to have such an insane map number 4, they are now one of your top 4 teams going to London.
Top 4 teams going to London, like you said, finishing in 3rd place, 93 points, and that was such a big game from them, but an even bigger game from Nate Dogg and co, a team that we were highlighting Dream throughout the event. Today, we called them a hidden gem of a roster. Nate Dogg tears it up, in my opinion. This roster's so consistent. That consistency pays off.
Absolutely. I mean, stage 1, 31st place, stage 2, 21st. You had Zen Purity, you had FaZe, who last stage, I mean, both Nate Dogg and Tappa pulled up big numbers. Nate Dogg had 18, Tappa had 16, and FaZe had 4. So just the fact that they barely missed that spot, that qualification spot, and then come in here and then put up big numbers like that with Raul stepping in, man, this guy, especially Nate Dogg, 23 eliminations, I believe he had through these first these 5 drops. So that is impressive. And I mean, shout outs to these guys just to being able to win this here to like solidify that spot. Yeah. It was a huge engagement to win.
And that is such a heartbreaking win. It's got to be total elation from Nate Dogg to win that, secure that top 4 spot, and then it's heartbreaking for Huskers fan because that win could have very well solidified a top 4 position, and it doesn't because he loses that 1v1. It's not all on him, right? Because 1 kill throughout the day, 1 additional kill throughout any of the 5 games could have very well secured them a top 4. So the 1v1 is just something to highlight at the end there, but an incredible performance from Nate Dogg. And one team, though, that we didn't highlight necessarily because they didn't win a game today, but was Cloud's crew in that top 4 position. Congratulations to them for making it through. And Cloud, insanely consistent, winning fights, and just ultimately doing incredibly well. But hey, there it is. 5 games down, 1 more to go. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Game 6 will be coming your way. And welcome back, everybody, to the World Series of Warzone in a last chance qualifier presented by Prime Gaming. I'm Taylor Reflections Noble, joined by Dream Crazy and Dandro. Hey, we're still waiting to get into Game 6. We do appreciate your patience, but until we get there, let's go ahead and recap what ended up taking place yesterday, because EU, we saw 50 of the best trios competing to try and make it into the top 5 positions so they can move forward to the global finals. And we did end up getting 5 great teams to enter, but let's recap the games that we ended up watching. And starting with Drop 1 Dream, we saw Fluxury, Quicker, and Petey taking map number 1, 28 points. This was a big win because it was a team that we had highlighted a bit, specifically with Quicker, but we weren't expecting them to start off as heavy as they did.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, well, a little bit, because I mean, obviously they did for the quals, they did dominate there, but it just kind of ties into that conversation with the curse of the quals, like these guys still not making it through. They did place 7th yesterday, but this was a great game that they were able to set the tone. They just were not able to carry it out through the tournament, as even the next game they placed 39th, and then the game after that 28th, and then the last 2 were decent, but those middle games for some of these teams, and especially when it comes to the teams that dominate in the qualifiers, they just did not have the best of luck.
Didn't have the best of luck, but one good thing about this team, though, is they were a team that were the winner of Stage 2 Open Quals, Dandro. So they came in with some proven success, but there's that curse, right, that Goj is always talking about. Teams that win qualifier tournaments do not go through to the global finals. At least we haven't seen that in this season, right? But one big thing about this matchup was the fact that we saw Nova, Deki, and Proesserin. They get second place, but they had a tremendous amount of eliminations. Deki ends up picking up 12 kills that game, but went silent shortly after that. But let's hone in, Dandro, on Punkill's roster. Punkill, V.Ronzo, they take map number 2. They did so in great fashion. One of the things that made Punkill's roster so fun to watch and talk about after winning Game 2 was the fact they were in an invited roster for this tournament, which means their back was already against the wall starting off.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the thing you love to be able to see, especially in an event like this, right? I mean, this is a team that they would have loved to make it through either the Stage 1 or Stage 2 qualifiers, right? Of course, you want to try and make it through some of those, but to be able to kind of, you have this heartbreak of maybe not making it there, and then you're an invited team to be able to come in and you win the second map of the day, feels amazing as a squad. Now, obviously, at the end of the day, it didn't really work out for them to be able to go to London, but I think as a competitor, these are the type of maps that you love to have, right? You say, okay, we still got it. Obviously the cars didn't shake out for us like we had wanted, but we can still hang, and it still bodes well for their future in competitive Warzone.
This was also a heartbreaking game, though, for Nova, Proesserin, and Deki. They were in first place going into this based off the eliminations they got in Game 1 Dream. They finished Game number 2 in 49th place and fell all the way down past top 5.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it was even like map 3. We're like, man, Deki literally had 12 kills that game, and then he had like 14. Right. It was like, wow, what is happening? Yeah. But as we lead into this map number 3, Team Rocket, they were one of the squads. I mean, I think there was like a poll, right? 79% said that no one would take back-to-back wins, but these guys did it. And consistency was the name of the game for these guys. Maybe not putting up the biggest of numbers in terms of kills, but they were able to be alive and stay alive, play for their rotations, and they're essentially just carrying that placement throughout the whole entire day.
Andrew, you've been talking about consistency for NA. Yesterday, Enigma was bringing up the same point, consistency, and Rocket's team was the definition of consistency. Zakar, we had a chance to interview him after this very game. He was absolutely locked in and talking about, look, job's not finished. We've got to continue to push forward. They do so. They ultimately end up qualing in second place. But this was the game that kind of showed me, Team Rocket, they weren't playing around.
Yeah, and I feel like every time I was watching map to map to map, this was the squad that, you'd see them early on and maybe they'd get an engagement, and then, we kind of lose track of them, and all of a sudden we're getting into the final 4 teams. We have this awesome Codcast review that's showing us this up in the air. I'm like, oh, look, there's Morpheus' squad, right? They're here again. They're right back in it, and I think that was kind of the consistency that we were talking with. Yeah, in that game they won, they didn't have the real, kills there to take advantage of that 2x multiplier, but at the end of the day, it became kind of became that consistency that they were able to get to that top 5 so consistently that just kind of brings them down to the end. And like you said, gets them that second place spot.
Team Shucks with Pace and Melvin Dream, a 58-point game, 29 eliminations. We had a chance to interview, I believe it was Shucks, after this game, and he said, look, we just kind of like posted up, popped UAVs, teams were pushing into us, we were taking advantage of it. That was one key component, plus their beautiful water play at the end game.
Yeah, and you were looking at squads, right? Like they were one of the squads that like had everybody alive towards like that late game. So these engagements were much easier for them as essentially they had everybody alive. But how consistent they played was amazing. I mean, that game was crazy. But the fact that map 2 also, they were second place, right? Map 4 first. They always found themselves in that top 15 spot. So, yeah, just the fact that they were winning their ones, and I mean, my God, right. Fighting against so much adversity, it was just awesome to see for these guys. They are literal lords, and I cannot wait to see them at that global final.
I can't either, because it makes me excited to see a team be so dominant like that, because, you know, Juki's got to be put in check. That man is absolutely on a tear. $60,000 from both of the finals. Hey, man, someone's got to take him down, but I don't know if anybody can, to tell you the truth. We go to drop number 5, and again, Team Rocket makes an appearance. They win 2 games out of the 5 total games that were played for the points. And again, showing that consistency, Dandro, that was just absolutely good. But drop 5 specifically, though, I think for me, this is where we saw Pentagon. He had a massive game in game 4. Coming into game 5, he wasn't there. And that's when they started to really drop down the standings.
Yeah, and I feel like, you know, that's something that they got to look back on and maybe kind of clutch it on up, right? I mean, that's the beauty of sort of this LCQ is that, you know, okay, you made it through, you're feeling good about it, but now you have all of this VOD, right? You kind of said you went through this lobby. Now land is going to be an entirely different beast of its own, but at least you have the things that you need in your back pocket to kind of make those adjustments. We have plenty of time until we're going to London, right? So there's no excuse why you shouldn't be looking back at maybe some of your mistakes, some of the things that you had, and then being able to kind of tighten them up before we get, of course, to that global land.
That's right, and I think after this we ended up seeing Zach Carr's reaction towards the end. We don't get it here, but he went from just very serious, right, during that interview to just absolutely elated as he realized he punched his ticket to global finals. We look at the EU teams heading to global finals. One team, though, we didn't have a chance to cover was Tony White. Man, 32 years old. He posted that. I'm not just saying that, right? He posted that. I could say it. I'm 31. I'm old myself, but the fact is, 32, going to the biggest Warzone tournament ever. That is incredible dream.
Yeah, I absolutely. Listen, y'all, you keep talking about age here, and I'm like I said, I'm pretty sure I'm older than you, Reflections.
I didn't say anything about you.
But for real, they made a roster change last minute, and that was that question, like, since picking up Dan the Man, will they be able to do it? And they did it with the roster change, and that chemistry had them soaring.
Adam, hey, I keep talking about age. I mean, Dandro's 22. He can't relate to us, man. I got one foot in the grave over here at 31. I don't know if he's 22. He might be 23.
I'm a year younger than you, homie. Like, what?
Might be 23. I mean, he looks like got that baby face going on. Hey, we got a good interview, though, and I'm ready to bring him in. Let's talk to Nate Dogg after such an incredible day. Nate, what's going on, man? By the way, loved watching your perspective in that 1v1 versus Huskers. You were locked in, but you didn't seem frazzled whatsoever. It was all business at that point.
Yo, yeah, we knew it was like last game where we had to lock in. Like if we really wanted to go to London, like it was this last game that we had to lock in. So me and the boys, we locked in, and the game went perfect. We ended up winning it, 16 kills.
Perfect is what you needed, man, because you were going into game number 5 in 7th place. You had been so consistent throughout the day, but it was after that game 4 you kind of fell down a little bit, right, from top 4 down to 7th, and a lot of questions were raised. Would you all be able to make it and qual? And you managed to do it. So I got to ask you the simple question, right? You're going to global finals. What does that mean to you personally as a competitive Warzone player?
It means a lot. I told my mom about the tournament, and she believed in me. She believed in me. I didn't have my passport yet. Like the day before last week, the qual is. I got my passport on Wednesday. It was devastating that we didn't qual, but we knew we had one more chance. So I'm glad that we could bring it out today. That I got my passport for a reason.
I love that. I mean, man, congratulations, of course, Nate. I was gonna say, like, with you personally, I usually love to hear about team dynamics, but I'm gonna switch it a little bit. With you personally, your game specifically has just increased every single time. I just feel like you keep getting better and better. Like, what are you doing that is just increasing your level of play?
Thank you. And I don't know, I just been grinding the game a lot, playing for this tournament ever since it was announced. I've been playing all day, grinding, and I'm glad that it paid off. Like in this last chance qualifiers, like I couldn't be more excited. I'm so hyped for going to London. I'm thankful.
Hell yeah. I love to hear that. I think I saw a clip from your teammate Raul on the team on the timeline, like freaking out, and his mom coming in and like him telling his mom that you guys are going to London. Obviously, like, you know, you're a little bit I would argue underdogs, right? I don't think a lot of people are very familiar with you if they haven't, you know, been watching the competitive scene a while. So talk to me about the squad. Talk to me about, like, why do you three work together so well? Like, what had to come together for you guys to be able to have the performance that you did today?
Raul was a last minute pickup. Like, we've only been playing with each other for like 3 days, and I'm glad it worked. And he wanted me to thank Mutex for dropping him to give us the opportunity to pick him up and call. So I want to give Mutex a shout out.
Oh my God, I love it. I love it. Hey, congratulations though, man. I mean, it's really something special, I think, to see a team like you come through the LCQ and be able to obviously make London.
It's huge. It's huge. Nate, you mentioned your mom was a big supporter. Love that first and foremost. You know, for a lot of competitive gamers, it's imperative that their family supports them, and it just makes that route to be a competitive or a successful competitive gamer that much easier and more accepted. So did you tell your mom? Have you told her yet that you won? What was the reaction from her? And you know, what ended up happening in the household after you won?
She was excited. I told her as soon as we won the last game. Like, I had a feeling that we called for sure after that 18-kill win. I told her, and she was excited because she's the one I'm taking to London with me. So I'm glad I got to go travel with her.
That's awesome. So you're taking her too. That's great. We'll have a chance to see the both of you.